What does a war actually cost? Not the missiles on the news, not the jets taking off, not the maps showing who holds what ground. The real bill is paid in something harder to graph. Lives lost, cities broken, bases crippled, oil stranded, and billions burned every single day. In the US-Iran war, that bill is already staggering. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Nobody knows the final number yet. Since the war erupted in February 2026, American and Israeli forces have struck Iran repeatedly, and Iran has answered with missiles and drones aimed at US positions and allied targets across the Gulf. This war isn't just killing people, it's gutting infrastructure, wrecking military hardware, choking energy flows, and threatening one of the most important waterways on Earth. So let's add it up.
Chapter 1. The Human Bill. Start with the number that matters most: human lives. U.S. military deaths currently stand at roughly 18, with close to 700 wounded, figures that have climbed steadily since the war's opening strikes. But a number like that hides its own story. Behind each entry on that list is someone who isn't a statistic to the people who love them: a son, a daughter, a husband, a wife, a parent. Iran's toll is far murkier and far larger. Tehran has reported thousands killed and tens of thousands wounded. Independent groups estimate differently. Some U.S. and Israeli assessments put Iranian military losses higher still. So which number's true? That's the problem with war. The casualty count itself becomes a battlefield, and civilians absorb the worst of it. Homes flattened, hospitals overwhelmed, families running with whatever they can carry. People who survived the bombs can still lose everything they spent a lifetime building. This is the one bill no currency can measure, because there's no price tag for a human life.
Chapter 2. The Military Bill. Next comes the military bill. The United States has poured enormous sums into this war. Precision missiles, thousands of sorties, carrier groups and squadrons repositioned across the region, and constant defense against Iranian retaliation. American hardware hasn't come through unscathed either. Facilities and aircraft have taken damage alongside the hundreds of wounded troops. But Iran is paying the steeper military price. Air defense networks, missile sites, bases, naval assets, command centers, struck again and again. Washington calls it a major blow to Iran's fighting capacity. But here's the catch. Destroying a launcher isn't the same as destroying the ability to build another one. Factories get rebuilt, launchers get replaced, underground facilities survive what's built to reach them. And the knowledge of how to build a weapon doesn't die when the building does. So the real question was never how much did America destroy, it's how much of Iran's ability to fight will actually stay destroyed. Chapter 3. The Infrastructure Bill. Then there's the damage no map shows: infrastructure. A strike on a military site rarely stops at concrete and steel. Roads, bridges, power grids, ports, communications networks, all have taken hits in this war, deliberately or otherwise. And when infrastructure breaks, the damage doesn't stay contained. Knock out a power station and hospitals start rationing electricity. Damage a water system and thousands lose clean water overnight. Hit a refinery and the shockwave reaches far past the blast radius. This is why a war's true cost almost always outruns the cost of the weapons that started it. You don't just pay to destroy something, you pay later to rebuild it. And rebuilding doesn't happen in months. It happens in years, sometimes decades. Chapter 4. The Gulf's Bill. But the most dangerous bill isn't being paid by Washington or Tehran alone. It's being paid by the Gulf. Because this war sits directly beside the world's most critical energy choke point, the Strait of Hormuz. For decades, a huge share of the planet's oil and gas moved through this narrow passage. Now the war has all but strangled it. Tankers attacked, ships damaged, crews killed or missing. As of early August, Iran continues to insist the strait won't fully reopen until Washington ends the war, withdraws its forces, and meets Tehran's other demands, even as talks with Oman edge toward a deal. Think about the chain that creates. A war fought thousands of kilometers from most of the world can still reach almost anyone through one simple sequence: missiles, shipping, oil, prices, your wallet. And if the disruption drags on, the economic fallout could dwarf the direct cost of the fighting itself. Chapter 5. The bill nobody sees yet. And then there's the bill still being written, the future. America has already spent enormous sums running this war, and restocking missiles, aircraft, and equipment would cost enormously more. Iran faces something potentially worse: wrecked infrastructure, lost production, crippled oil exports, deepening isolation, and a reconstruction bill that could take a generation to pay off. The Gulf states carry their own exposure too. Every missile intercepted over a city costs money. Every damaged airport costs money. Every rerouted tanker costs money. Every day of disrupted trade costs money. And every extra week of war adds to a total no one has fully counted yet.
So, who's winning? America has the technological edge. Iran still has the ability to hit back. But after months of war, there's a better way to measure victory than any of that. That is, what's still standing when the explosions stop? How many homes remain? How many soldiers come home? How much infrastructure still works? How much it will cost to rebuild? How long the region will need to recover? Because every war eventually lands on a balance sheet. The only question left is, who's left holding the bill? This is The Last Trace File.